But we all know that Communist China covered it up initially. How are you going to get the truth now? They won't even allow an investigation into the Wuhan lab.
Yeah, it's not easy, and they haven't been forthcoming. I think the only way to convince them is that it won't all be about blaming them because we participated in funding this. The blame equally should go not only to Chinese authorities, but to Anthony Fauci and all those who advocated for this. But there has to be a reassessment. Look, Bill Gates has been over there recently. Bill Gates is the largest funder of trying to find these viruses in remote caves and bring them to big cities. So what happened in China is they went 8 to 10 hours south of Wuhan, 200 to 300 feet deep into a cave, found viruses and took them back to a city of 15 million. There are many, many scientists who think that Bill Gates is wrong in funding this, that our government's wrong, that the Chinese government, that really we don't need to be searching for viruses that may never interact with man. And it's worse than that. They bring viruses that we may never interact with. They bring them back to the lab, but then they manipulate them by combining them with other viruses to create viruses that don't exist in nature. But this has largely been funded by Bill Gates. He funds the WHO more than most countries do. So there's a responsibility there. And I don't think I think he's well intended, but I think he's inadvertently helped to create something that the biggest danger to mankind right now is something that he's been funding, and that is finding these viruses, taking them back to the lab, and manipulating them to make them more dangerous.
Wow. I mean, look, we can talk about this now freely, but back in the early days and the peak days of COVID-19, God forbid you said anything about any of this, you were canceled. Social media and the mainstream media wouldn't allow you to push back on anything against China and the COVID-19 originating there. What about Anthony Fauci's accountability and the media complicit?
What we know is from the very first days of the pandemic in January of 2020 that Anthony Fauci orchestrated an elaborate cover-up. He knew there was a problem. At 3 a.m, he was emailing somebody on January 31st, and that person was head of the committee that was supposed to review dangerous research, the P3